Brutal here at YCS Orlando. My goodness, after 12 rounds of Swiss, we have here a top 16 contestant. Please introduce yourself to the world, man.
Hey, it's Manan. It's my first YCS top. I got top 16. I played Mitsu Ryzeal.
Oh, what made you decide to play this deck for the event?
This guy, Brad. Brad is insane. Crafted the whole deck, had all the theory figured out. You know, I just learned from him. We tested together, and it performed really well. In fact, one of our other friends is still on top 8, and hopefully he's gonna win it.
He's up again.
Yeah, he's up again. So it was a really, really good list. I think the ratios of the math was excellent. So you know, we'll go into that.
Sweet. Before we see the goo, any shout-outs?
Yeah. So number 1 to my wife. Yeah, she supports me, lets me do these things, and I had a great time today. Brad, obviously, Jacob, all my boys back there, Peter, Brian, and Will, Ethan, and then everybody I tested with on DB. You know, I don't know all of you personally, but it makes a hell of a difference playing with good players. So thanks everybody.
Sweet. Without further ado, please show us the top 16 goo.
Yeah, man. So Mitsu Ryzeal, I mean, we'll just kind of go with the most strong engines first. Play 3 Bonfire, 3X. Obviously, best starter, best board breaker. 2 Ice, Sword, Node, Cross. So 1 and 1 makes sense. They're searchable. They're not really good starters. This doesn't start. This is a very weak start. People see this, they're going to hand trap it. Ice is kind of like starter extender in both ways, and you a lot of times want it if you're starting just with Ice, but just as a free body. You'll usually get one off of your X when you start comboing, and if you open Bonfire, it's an incredible extra body. Cross, yeah, this one's a little bit interesting. Obviously, you need it in the main. Siding, we kind of had differing opinions on it. I think more often than not, you want to keep it. Very, very hard combo matchups, you want to take it out just because you don't want to brick on it. But I think, you know, you can go back and forth on it.
Matchups, you're going to need it for the grind game.
Yeah, exactly. And you do need it for the grind. If you're playing against good opponents who stop you, you're going to need to find a way to recover your resources.
And we play a pretty low amount of Ryzeals.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very slim. And oftentimes we are cross-putting back the fires and kind of cycling that way. Mitsu, so obviously the reason we played the deck. So what do we got here? We got the most broken spells, Ritual, and Prayers. We did not play Nadir. The thought process behind no Nadir was, you know, you're already losing to Droll. It's a very strong breaker, but, you know, it's not that great when you think about what people are going to be maining. And it's the only card where the opponent can Fuwa you and then Droll you later, and they get value on both. Right? They're Fuwa-ing you, so you don't go down an actual extra deck path. Then you go, oh, activate Nadir. Garura Chainlink 1, Droll Chainlink 2, now you're cooked, right? Those cards are supposed to conflict. For some reason, they don't in that situation. So we didn't want to walk into that.
And Dweller. It's a big problem against all the Ryzeal decks.
Of course.
So it was always coming out of the deck after siding. Why are we playing this card?
Yeah, we'll talk about siding patterns later, but basically you want to avoid playing too many cards, you know, of this engine going second, especially into Dweller decks. So anyways, ratios 3 and 3, you know, opening Ritual is insane. You can play through 2-card combos, 2-card hand traps if you open Ritual plus X. Prayers is basically any card, you know, in the top row. Amino is your boss monster. He deals with everything. Futsu is kind of like the necessary evil, but it's also a great way to resource for Kerr. This is the true evil, and then these are the starters. Why do you play 2 and not 3? It's not a starter. If you think about the combo, the way it sequences, you'll end up normaling this. You'll add the Ritual, then you'll end up using the Ritual to send these 2. So you've kind of gone through it. Prayers never really needs to add anything else from deck. All you do is revive and plus, right? So this revives this adds back, or this revives this board wipes. So you really don't need a third one. You can play it, but I don't think it makes sense.
Yeah, no. The engine really just try to play through. Once you get into it, it's just trying to loop the Prayers over and over again.
Right.
That's how you beat every deck.
It's Amino on repeat. Okay, consistency, I mean, Prosperity, right? We don't play Nadir, we need ways to play. Prosperity handles that. This is my favorite card, Call By. It's very degenerate, probably should be banned. I think it has applications in every matchup, even if they don't play hand traps, and if they do, obviously, you know, you're going to get ahead. Talents, same logic. It breaks Fiendsmith Ryzeal board, helps trade, you know, 1 for 1. If you draw it first, going first, and they hand trap you, you pretty much win when you hand loop them.
People are pretty scared of this deck too, so they throw hand traps really early at your starters. I mean, people even were negating X throughout the tournament for me. I don't know about you. So I was like, when you're ashing X or you're imperming X or you're Veiling X, you lose very quickly with talents. I was like,
a lot of players who open just one imperm would just use it on X and pray, you know, because sometimes that might get you there. Okay, and then obviously we went down hand traps since we didn't play Nadir. So 15 hand traps, 18 non-engine in total if you want to count Call By. But thought process, Ash and Imperm, almost mandatory. Hash is a great way to deal with the Charmies. It's a great 1-for-1 hand trap. Imperm is a great board breaker, great hand trap, deals with, themes with Ryzeal Mitsu boards decently well. I think this deck needs Fuwalos. A lot of your combos are 2-card, 3-card combos. If you're going second and you have Fuwa, you're limiting their board and you're getting value with the draws, and that oftentimes is enough. If you open Ritual Spell Ritual, it's so strong. So Fuwa is important. Nib is Nib. We can talk about the conflicting issues between Ext and Nib, but if you resolve Imperm Nib, against most decks, you're probably in a great spot, and you can find a way to play around it.
Yep.
And Droll was kind of like our tech. I know a lot of people play Veiler, some play Ogre. The idea behind Droll is simply you cook the mirror. In fact, I played a lot of Malice. I played 7 Malice throughout the event, and it was actually weirdly good against a deck it's not supposed to, because the Malice combo nowadays needs the hand advantage. So you're adding off of your Chessicat, you're adding off of the White Binder, and those cards you're adding are getting discarded for Abao. And if you limit the hand advantage they have, their hand traps are oftentimes discard fodder, or they can't use the cards on field. And it actually helps you, find a way to deal with it. Obviously, it's a game 1 thing. Game 2, you're putting in the silver bullets.
There was a lot of allures, I thought, at this tournament too. The Malice players.
That's right. If you're playing allure, it helps a lot. So that's that. We'll go into the extra.
What's main deck count?
42.
42. All right.
Yeah.
Respect.
The math on the bricks doesn't really work. Playing more cards, but 42 just for us was good. So I'll just kind of list it out, and then we'll go one by one.
Okay.
So, Lizardos, we'll talk in a sec. Duo Drive, Detonator. Some people are probably curious why we play 2 Duo. When we're going first, Duo is the first thing we send off of Ext. It's a fire, so it can't get Bestialed. It's a card you're going to want to attach for Duo Drive, especially if you open Broken and you want to go Ext into Sword. To Duo, attach Duo, right? You force a hand trap out, you talents them, and then you obviously you open the nuts, but you found a way to bait the Imperm or the Veiler. You need 2 Detonator. You're worried about Unicorn, you're worried about the grind game. Eclipse at 2, everyone knows what it does. It's insane recursion. How to break a board, how to break a board, how to break a board.
This was a card that was not really common in a lot of deck lists.
Yeah.
We ended up adding it in. We found a lot of games, especially against Ryzeal. You end up these weird game states where they have like one back row, because they do tend to try to trade with the first few Ryzeal pieces between the Detonator and their Imperms and stuff. And you get this game state where they have like one Mystery Unknown. You have the ability to make 2 rank 4s basically off of your Ryzeal starters. If you want to resolve the Duo Drive, you need to find something that baits it. And sometimes, Dugaris is not a good bet to do that. Exciton has its restrictions, obviously. Feral Imps, you do want to resolve, so you want to try to make that after Duo Drive if possible. And the only card that can check that extra piece of non-engine they had, whether it's a bluff or not, was the Tornado Dragon. And I thought it was really good throughout the weekend.
It was really good for me too. Detonator is a proactive way to deal with back row. Tornado Dragon other way around. Detonator is a reactive way. Tornado is a proactive way. And sometimes you need the proactive bait the Imperm out combo. Okay.
Another thing we probably should address is the Eclipse Twins in this deck specifically. It's used different than the other Ryzeal decks because you do hard summon this card. A lot of times, not even a lot of times, when you're playing through hand traps, it happens more often than you think. You hard summon the twins twice. You'll summon a twins because you can use its effect on your first turn, whether you have a battle phase or not.
Yeah.
So you'll when you have like a rank 4 and then like 2 extra level 4 bodies, you will use the rank 4 with 1 body to make an Eclipse Twins, and then use the last level 4 body with the Eclipse Twins to make a second Eclipse Twins, making all the materials fall off, and then use Eclipse Twins effect, detaching the first Eclipse Twins, triggering it to bring back something like
Feral Imps
after it was negated.
Right.
Happens a lot.
So you could argue 3 Disrespect Twins.
You could.
Dweller, I think half the meta loses to Dweller. Fiends with Ryzeal, Mermail, our deck. So you want to play that. It's a rank 4 deck. King of the Feral Imps, this is kind of the reason you play the deck, right? It's the bridge between both engines. As is Duo, right? You can use 2 Ritual monsters to make Duo. You can use, 2 Mitsu monsters to make Duo. You can use 2 Ryzeal monsters to make King. Dugaris, the 1 card Ice normal summon combo requires it. Oftentimes you'll use it to draw. I use it to draw 2 versus Malice to dig into Alancia, 1 meter game. Typhon is one of those cards. Typhon's one of those cards that, in theory, you can't really reason why you need it, but there are a lot of losing game states where it kind of helps you normalize, and if you can play after that, it works. And then the 2 sort of, I guess one is more conventional than the other. Hygrid, Lizardos. When you start with Nib, you need to find a way to clear your board to summon X, right? So if you open Nib, Saji, X, you open Insane, but you have to find a way to play. So your normal Saji, they're probably going to hand trap it, and you make Hygrid, banish itself, target the Nib token, which you summon an attack. So it goes to 800 attack, you get a draw, and you can do X combo, right? It came up more than you think. I think it's a really strong card.
It was also used for Baguska.
Yeah.
There was the combo. We found that technically people could. If they get into hand trap war with you, they could just make up a Guska against your board and pass and try to force this grinding because there's no in-engine out. Even like the spells and traps from the Mitsu cards don't have a proactive way to remove a Guska. We found that Haggard Lizos actually was, because when you find you link off your Futsu because it has 2,000 attack points. Haggard Lizard can banish a monster with up to 2,000 attack points and targets itself. But when you have a duo drive on your field, it then boosts the Lizard Dose over 2,000 attack, meaning it can attack over the Medusa, and then you can play it.
Basically, you need to find a way to out the different bodies, right? And the one body that our deck has a hard time outing, other than Baguska, is the one card I barely made, but in theory felt really good, was Chaos Angel. Obviously, there's Bystials in the side deck, that's how you make it. And the thought process was, if you're playing Bystials, you're going to have bodies. You can use them to make Haggard, but you can also use them to make Chaos Angel. Most decks will have an out for it. And it just felt like a really good removal card. It only came up once for me. I think it came up for you more than once.
No, it came up for me just one time. In a random game state. I think it came up for Ben once too. It's just no one expects it in this.
Exactly. No one expects it. Maybe now people will. Very cuttable. We wanted to try it. It worked out.
Yeah,
nice. Side deck.
Yeah.
So I think the side deck theory was pretty straightforward for the most part, and there were a few things that a couple of our friends who also played the list did a little bit differently. So played 7 Malice, clearly won a few of them. These cards were the ones that helped, right? You need Lancia, it's great against Crystron. Malice is great against Malice. It's good against Memento. That deck summons a couple times from the graveyard.
It's mostly
if you think they're on pure Fiendsmith and you don't have a card to side and you can put Meowth in, I think it's a great hand trap. I think these cards balance the game. Hot take, maybe. That is what it is. Purulia, Droll is a silver bullet for our deck. Purulia is a silver bullet for our deck. It hurts most pure Ryzeal decks. It's a great blind side-in, Every deck's going to have normal summon or special summon, right? Fender decks needs a special summon. So I'm a big fan of Purulia. What was your take on it?
The thing was, we were trying to find a deck because there was only 2 decks we were scared of going to the tournament. It was Malice when you lose the die roll, and then the Mirror. Because you can sometimes trade hand traps very efficiently to Mirror, and sometimes it's really, really hard. But Purulia, against this deck specifically, they have to give you 2 to 3 draws, unless they hard open their ritual stuff, like multiple ritual pieces. So it was the only card that could fit that niche in the deck.
Right. Bystials, as we discussed, I think Bystials are incredible versus Fiendsmith, Ryzeal, as is Call By, right? Call By is a sucky card, but if you play 3 of them, maybe it's less sucky. You deal with, depending on what you draw, you deal with the Requiem or you deal with Engraver and Requiem. Incredibly strong card. It comes up even in the mirror. If they missequence or if they burn prayers early,
that is the point.
You kick their Amino. If you play well, I think you can avoid getting hurt by Bystials, but sometimes you're forced to. The trap, I didn't main the trap. Brad mained the trap. One of our friends who's in top 8 mains the trap. I think you can go both ways. Yeah. I just felt like if I'm full comboing, the additional negate didn't matter. The argument to keep it.
Yeah, the argument to keep it was, in testing, people were starting to main, this is mostly online testing, they were starting to main even Purulia sometimes, or they were trying to main Droll. So the best way to counter that we found was, if you can hard open or play in the draw phase to set it up, the ritual cards, you can make it so that your first search after you successfully ritual summon is the trap card, which is significantly better, obviously, in those simplified game states against random boards once you hit with Droll, or you can even give 0 draws to a Purulia and just end on an Ame trap card. And there's not really a deck in the game that can efficiently deal with that currently.
And a lot of times, this came up more online testing, but I'll go into that line. But a lot of times, even if they outed this, they said, they're trying to force you to use it in a less optimal way, that's fine. Let it go to grave, right? You can use it in grave, summon a different reptile, tribute your Amino, and get a board wipe, right? So there are definitely many ways to use this card correctly. I sided it in every time going first. Could be mained. Okay, and then the last 3, this was the last minute change. This was, again, thanks to Brad. Plate Strike, right? I think there's many good profiles explaining the value of Strike, right? You don't have to really talk about it. Before this, we were running 2 Thrust and a Heartpiece. Heartpiece is very good in the format, but again, I think it falls under the same issue we were trying to avoid with Nadir. You lose to Droll. You don't have that many good search targets, right? If you search Prosperity, sure, but that's kind of weird, right? Searching for searching. You can search for Bonfire, but the way you've built your deck, you should have a high chance of drawing what you need. Or you could search for Talents. It just felt limited, right? Nadir kind of offers a whole sort of different push.
You can play in a different axis.
And if you play, exactly. If you had Nadir in the deck, Thrust made sense. We chose to take it out. It came up for me game 2, round 16. It came up for me multiple times throughout Swiss. I thought it was a great card. I'm happy we played it.
Yeah, The reason it seemed like the most flexible card for this spot was even if you get, because a lot of games get into these top decking grind like games back and forth. It's one of the only like go first cards that the expense of it isn't too high. You can really use it, even using it on hand traps.
Yeah. I didn't think Judgment was worth it, frankly.
Too much life points, and we pay for
you pay 800
rares.
every single round. Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the general logic of the deck. There's just one line I think people who play this deck should know. Yeah, we kind of call it the hidden line. I don't think it's necessarily hidden, but I think if you main the trap, you definitely need to know this line. Here's the thought process, right? When you open Saji and you successfully resolve it, if you're that lucky, right? You're gonna get ritual spell, right?
Yeah.
At some point, your combo is also going to get you access to one of the ritual monsters. Let's say you get access to Amino, right? So the goal here is you want to end on the quick play and you want to end on the trap, because that is significantly better than ending on 2 ritual monsters, right? No one cares about the recursion if you lose the game. So how do you do that? You use the ritual to the spell to summon from hand. You're going to obviously send the other 2 guys. Let's go ahead and find those. Right? Oh, sorry, I'm doing it wrong. I'm already losing it. You're going to actually send the other ritual monster. Okay. So what does this do? This will add you prayers. Prayers is how you get access to the second sort of search, right? You use prayers, you tribute for cost. Now, again, you have to really think about Bystials, because if you get Bystials here, you lose. So let's just say you've checked for Bystials and you're not worried about it.
Talents their hand.
Yeah, you talents their hand, whatever, right? You tribute this. You go ahead and you add Kusanagi, right? Kusanagi is going to come out, and you get to go Chainlink 1, or you probably do it the other way around, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, right? So now you get access to prayers, and Amino adds the trap, Amino comes back. If you're so lucky to not get interrupted, you go duo, Ryzeal combo, right? So the whole thought process here is a lot of people who play this deck will use a ritual to summon from hand, then the ritual to summon from deck. They'll end up getting both these bodies on field, but they'll lose access to one of these 2 cards. That is pretty inefficient when you're talking about such broken decks and you need to find ways to trade with them.
You need serpents.
And you don't need Serpent, right? And
No, you can always access
Yeah.
2 level 4s without Serpent.
I don't think Serpent's worth it. If you play it, that's totally fine, but I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important if you play this deck. Know that line, especially if you main it. If you don't main it, know it if you decide it. So
Nice. Sweet. Appreciate the secret combo. My goodness. And yeah, that's going to be it. Again, congrats on top 16. And until next time, everyone.
Thanks.
Bordo out.